Now in upcoming episodes, Deng Shentong is after Zhang Yi. Episode by Qiuyu calls Zhang Yi Chapter 527, 528. Zhang Yi came to the locker room and changed out of his training suit. He still liked the texture, but he couldn't take it away from here. Fortunately, there was Lu Karen, the mechanical master, who would rely on her to replicate the material and help him build a set. Zhang Yi changed his clothes and walked out of the locker room. Wu Di was already outside. He could see the annoyance on his face, but he no longer had the hostility towards Zhang Yi. After the fight, the obsession in his heart was finally let go. He also understood that Zhang Yi didn't even use his full strength now. If he couldn't beat him, he would have no chance in the future. It can only be said that he was a little unwilling. When Zhang Yi came out, he heard him say to Bailey Chongqing, "I thought I was well prepared this time, and I would have a chance to beat him." Bailey Chongqing comforted him. "You have joined the investigation team for too short a time. What you lack is practical experience. Just practice more in the future." Zhang Yi came out. "You too. Have you finished talking? If you have, please take me to get my spoils." Bailey Chongqing waved to a place not far away and saw Meng Qiuyu, a member of the investigation team, coming over with a black box. She handed the box to Zhang Yi. "This is what you want." Zhang Yi's eyes lit up, and he wanted to open it to see his new weapon. But Bailey Chongqing held down the box and winked at him. "Let's see it after we go back." Although the standard adamantium metal weapons are not the top secret of Blizzard City, ordinary soldiers are not qualified to use them. In principle, it is not good for Bailey Chongqing to give one to Zhang Yi, but the temporary rules of Blizzard City do not specify this in detail. Therefore, Zhang Yi can use it, but there is no need to be too ostentatious. After all, this is the combat center, and it is not a good thing to be discussed by people with ulterior motives. Zhang Yi understood, and reached out to put the weapon box into the different space. There are other familiar faces of the Black Robe team around. Obviously, they all watched the fight between the two men, and now they looked at Zhang Yi with more admiration. In terms of combat power, Wu Di is the second only to Bailey Chongqing in their team. Zhang Yi was able to easily defeat him while retaining his strength, which shows his strength and clear mind. Bailey Chongqing smiled and put one hand around Zhang Yi's shoulder and the other hand around Wu Di's shoulder. "After this fight today, the past grudges will be written off. I hope you can be friends in the future." "Friend?" This word made Zhang Yi's mouth reveal a meaningful smile. His standard for choosing friends is very high. But he still has to give Bailey Chongqing face. Anyway, saying some nice words will not lose a piece of meat. Zhang Yi smiled and took the initiative to extend his right hand to Wu Di. "We have to take care of each other in the future." Wu Di and Zhang Yi themselves have no personal grudges. After the fight, he also personally felt the gap between himself and Zhang Yi. This kind of people are arrogant, but admire the strong. Zhang Yi took the initiative to reach out to him again, and he stretched out his hand a little embarrassedly and shook hands with Zhang Yi. "Oh." After the fight, it was already late. There was a curfew in Blizzard City, which naturally had no effect on Bailey Chongqing and others. But Zhang Yi had just arrived and didn't want to break the rules and let people use this as an excuse to target him. He said, "Let's go back and rest first. There will be a gathering tomorrow." Bailey Chongqing nodded. "Okay, after your gathering, we will have time to get together again. Speaking of which, I didn't let you drink good wine today, and I, as the local host, am a little inadequate in entertaining you." Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "If you have time, you can naturally have a few drinks together." Zhang Yi took the others away from the combat center, of course. On the martial arts field, the people who watched the battle had their own thoughts. Deng Shentong seemed to have the idea of winning Zhang Yi over. But he had already met Zhang Yi today, and going to find Zhang Yi at this time would feel a bit rushed, which was not his style. "He has never even heard of my name, Deng Shentong." No wonder, after all. He comes from a small place. After thinking for a while, Deng Shentong turned to Bai Chunyu and said, "You go find Zhang Yi later and ask him to come to my house to meet me after the rally." Bai Chunyu is careful and cautious, unlike Liao Honglei, who is reckless. It is best for him to find Zhang Yi. By the way, don't forget to take him to the scoreboard to have a look, so that he knows who I, Deng Shentong, am. The hard currency in Blizzard City is personal points, and the easiest and fastest way to get points is to go out on missions. Therefore, the ranking of the scoreboard also indicates personal strength. Deng Shentong's points have always been the first on the scoreboard. He has to let Zhang Yi know his strength so that he will be willing to join his team. After all, Zhang Yi looks closer to the people in the Black Robe team at this time. If he is fooled by Bailey Chongqing and joins the Black Robe team, it would be a waste of talent. Bai Chunyu kept smiling, and he nodded, yes, Captain. After that, he turned and left the room to find Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi left the combat center with several people in the team and prepared to return to the apartment building. Having just received a weapon, Zhang Yi couldn't help but take a good look. In this way, he didn't have to share a long Ming with Liang Yu. I just don't know which weapon is better, his horizontal sword or Long Ming, which is made of adamantium metal. In addition, he was a little worried. I hope that the battle between him and Wu Di will not attract too much attention from the top management of Blizzard City. At that time, people will be jealous of his strong strength, and it will be bad to force him to stay in Blizzard City. Just after leaving the combat center, I suddenly heard a feminine voice behind me, calling Zhang Yi's name. Mr. Zhang Yi, please stay. Zhang Yi and others turned around subconsciously when they heard this voice. I saw a man with a feminine face standing on the steps, wearing a silver-white combat uniform, squinting his eyes, and with shoulder-length hair. Zhang Yi had never seen this person before, but the person who could appear here must be of extraordinary status. Who are you? My name is Bai Qiuyu, and I belong to the God Squad. Bai Qiuyu said as he slowly walked down the steps and came to Zhang Yi. He smiled and said, just now I saw Mr. Zhang Yi fighting with Wu Di from the Black Robe Squad. Mr. S combat thinking is very clever, and his abilities are also very interesting. God Squad? The gorgeous figure of Deng Shentong suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's mind. Is he trying to win me over? This chapter ends here. If you are eager to know more, then subscribe quickly if not already and comment to cheer me up. Thanks, my dear viewers.